All right, thanks everybody for joining us on this 30-minute session before I think we're going to break for networking. I'm David Donatelli. I lead our global solutions engineering team at Acquia. We're a digital experience platform. We do things like web hosting, web personalization, marketing automation, custom data platforms, and things like that. But today, joined by a lot of amazing colleagues here, we're going to talk a little bit about kind of evolution of retail, kind of how omnichannel is kind of evolving with all different touch points. And also things that are working, and most importantly, things that we see that are not working. So we're going to start here. We're going to keep this pretty informal today. Go around with some introductions. And Matt, I'm going to let you go first. So I'll put you on the spot.
All right. Thanks, everyone. We're excited to be here, especially on this stage with a lot of really accomplished individuals. I am the Chief Operating Officer of True Classic. We sell men's basics, so everything that I'm wearing, actually. I wasn't intending to be a model on stage, but it's and we do a quick video, or do we want to do intros and then work our way back?
Strike while the iron's hot.
All right. If you don't mind playing the video, it's just a minute.
True Classic. They're your one-stop shop for men's essentials.
True Classic has put a little secret sauce into their shirts. The only way to get smashed is in True Classic. From going to the gym to your first date, there is no better look.
They got the quality that you need and want for your shirt to last, and also want to be comfortable for you.
True Classic CEO Ryan Bartlett tweeted, if any teachers out there need help fulfilling their Amazon wish list, we'll help you out.
This is really just about being super intentional and helping out students.
Leading with empathy is how we build great culture.
When you shop True Classic, you can look good and feel good about it too.
Oh, I have to make this my whole personality. Woo! You all know it's hard to find a perfectly fitted, ultra soft t-shirt?
True Classic offers this and more.
That's Lauren.
Hi, I'm Lauren. So I am with Wellmore Holdings. So we acquired 4 businesses in the nutritional wellness space. So we have Vega plant-based protein powder, Great Lakes Wellness Collagen, JV Matcha, and From Great Origins Teas. So I oversee the Omnichannel e-commerce. So every channel from D2C to marketplace to retailer.com, which is why I have so many gray hairs.
Hey everyone, I'm Bryant Knight, President and COO of Malbon Golf. Malbon is a lifestyle brand that is rooted in the game of golf. We're based in Los Angeles, California, and we're here to help people look better on and off the course. Thank you for having me here.
Incredible. I think the sizzle reel was a great move. I gotta work on that for next year in the case they have me back. But well, the jury's still out on that. Anyways, good to be here. Amish, Tolia, the co-founder, CEO of Leap. We are a platform business. We help brands execute on their omnichannel strategy. So if a brand wants to build a omnichannel approach, they gotta be able to build stores, and that's gotta work in concert with their e-commerce. And so we actually are in kind of this retail as a service category, which we staff and we operate the stores and we sign a bunch of leases. And so we work with amazing brands. A handful of them are on stage today. A handful are in the room as well. But today we power about 110 locations for about 60 brands across 12 markets. And so amazing experiences we deliver every single day. So excited to chat on all things future of retail.
Great, thanks, Amish.
Yeah, I'll wrap it. Carrig, President and COO of Little Words Project. We're a jewelry brand all about inspiring and spreading positivity and kindness. We've been around for crazy enough 10 years. The point at which we're at now is we have 12 brick and mortar stores, wholesale business through Target, Urban Outfitters, and many other retailers, and then obviously our D2C e-commerce business. My day-to-day activities are helping guide that ship in whatever direction we're going. So really excited to be here, and thank you for having me.
Awesome, thanks a bunch. So Lauren, sorry to pick on you, especially after that gray hairs comment, which I'm going to steal, by the way. As director of Omnichannel, I'll kind of give you a really open-ended question here. What do you think of as like your strategy when you look to have the seamless experience between all the different channels that you're in charge of? Is it something that's data-driven? Is it something where you're doing a lot of testing? Like, what is kind of, when you walk in on a Monday morning, where are you going with that in terms of kind of strategy?
Absolutely. So for us, we have a large portfolio of brands that have different maturities in the market. So Vega's been around for 20 years. Great Lakes Wellness has a 100-year-old heritage. whereas our T brands originated online. So for us, our priority is how do we bring that brand to a consumer wherever they're valued to shop. So I think about how are we engaging in our SKUs that are supported from a 1P on Walmart versus a 3P strategy on Walmart, making sure that we're capturing the consumer where they want to shop. So for us, it's prioritizing the data with our partners of where they're telling us that they want to go and where we know that our brand really has to go and evolve, and marrying those two strategies cohesively.
That's awesome. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure everybody in this room and everybody on stage has seen kind of the whole spectrum of that, from, you know, not data-driven approach to actually figuring out doing too much data and kind of having the big brother-ish thing coming across. But I'm going to keep going to you. I'm not turning my back on you. Just the way I'm sitting. What about for you, Brian? Like, how do you take it? Do you use the same sort of data points?
We're more of a back of the envelope gut check data. You know, I look at like Matt from True Classic, and I don't want to speak for you, but I know you guys are very data driven. Where we've started has been really based on feel, and that's what's led us into Omnichannel, right? The brand that we built is built on community. In real life retail was the first point of contact we've had with our customer. We were built on the backs of e-commerce and Nordstrom and other retailers, but for the first time, you know, in the niche, the lead team actually really set the stage for us to go in person for the first time. And that's how we started in Omnichannel, and really, you know, kind of gut checking from there. Now, with 12 brick and mortar stores and all this national presence, it's the data piece of it, and trying to build a unified customer experience with all of those data points is incredibly important, something that we're heavily focused on.
Awesome. And, you know, a lot of what we've been talking about is like, what is working? You know, what are kind of best practices? But I want to kind of flip that around and say, have you, in your experience, as you kind of grow your evolution of the omnichannel experience you have there been any times where you tried to execute on something and just flat out failed? Like,
oh, yeah. I think to think on Leap again, right? You know, and I'm always like a Leap spokesperson here, but our first store was a lightning in a bottle, right? It was $1 million store out of the gate. Thought it was going to be easy. This was like great. I hand the keys over to Amish team, and sure, here we go. As we found that, you know,
that was fun, by the way.
That was fun, and it continues to be fun. But you know, the things that probably fell flat for us were trying to take that exact model, and from a brand perspective, think that we can just scale with these building blocks and add stores and add retail presence and add locations without doing the hard work of making sure that the customer experience is right, the training is right, all of those things. You know, wholesale though, from the opposite end, has been every time we kind of lit up a wholesale partner, it's been an amazing value add and a huge brand awareness play for us.
That's awesome. I mean, easy transition to you, Amish. So, as part of this with Leap, like, what have you seen as part of things not only that have worked but haven't worked when you start to execute this kind of omnichannel?
Yeah, well, it's fun because we get to work with a lot of growing businesses, and the reality with growing businesses is what worked yesterday may not work going forward, right? And that's generally a good thing. It's an exciting thing because you've got a growing business. So, I think what's critically important in these brand building organizations is, you know, you just have to never forget that you're serving an end shopper, irrespective of channel and how unified you make it. You really got to keep, you know, your finger on the pulse of what is the customer saying, right? And so that's where I think omnichannel and meeting the customer, you know, like ensuring that it's as seamless as practically possible, whether they're shopping on Amazon for you or they're shopping all the way in your own branded physical retail. It's a bit of a different customer journey, but if you really understand what the customer need state is and you're continuing to talk to them and you're using that to spin the flywheel, whether you're a $10 million year business or you're a $1 billion business, it's critically important, right? And like, again, people are changing the way they shop so frequently, right? And everything continues to get disrupted every 12, 24 months. So you've got to make sure you have that flywheel. And as long as you have that flywheel, you know, that's the most important thing at the end of the day, because in reality, we're all selling into their discretionary pocket, right?
Yeah.
So listening to the customer, talking to the customer, you can look at all the data under the sun, but you still got to have your finger on the pulse of what the customer's talking about.
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't agree more. And, you know, I really hate cliche terms like this. I've been around for like 30 years. It's like right person, right message, right time. But what you just point out, which is very, very accurate, I think, is that the concept of what that is changing on a 6, 12, 24-month basis all the time, especially how people want to engage with specific brands. And I also want to ask Ryan, since, I mean, your brand, just talking with you earlier and kind of the research that I did before, I mean, you guys have been extremely disruptive in the golf space, basically in terms of like what is considered performance apparel versus what's also now considered, you know, in fashion. Like, as you started to do this, because it's such a disruptive thing, what sort of approaches did you take and kind of drive the success that you have?
Well, I think the most important thing is getting each channel correct from the jump. So what I mean by that is we focus and launch as an e-commerce brand, and we're dropping product twice a week, which is very, very aggressive. And just learning and understanding what the customer wants there, perfecting that channel, collecting information. So for us too, being a lifestyle brand that's rooted in golf, it's like, okay, do they want lifestyle product? Do they want golf product? Then from there, once we are able to perfect our e-com strategy and we have a really good drop cadence in place, it's then adding on those touch points. So what is that? iOS and Android apps. So we use TapCart to power that with Shopify. That's a way of us rewarding our most loyal customers and giving them push notification versus them having to check email. Then after that, it's expanding on that and making sure that we're having these unique brand experiences at our physical retail locations. So we did also partner with Leap here. It's not a sales pitch, but we did. And we went to market really quickly with our first store in Soho, which was our second biggest market for as far as our customer population. And then the second one was Los Angeles. And Los Angeles was kind of an interesting one to talk about because that one started out as us wanting to do like an experimental pop-up, which turned into a permanent location. And so we introduced our women's collection, which is really a small part of our business. And the first week was all about having people come by the shop, being able to understand what we're doing here. Why are we launching women's apparel? You know, because men's is so big. It's very actively growing right now. But retail was a way for us to do that because when you see people just drop product online like we do, you kind of move so quickly and don't really understand what we're actually doing. So having that human element and then optimizing and opening up more stores is super key. Beyond that, to really touch on the 3 points of our omni-channel strategy, we showed at the PGA show. And that's like, what was a different activation for us, but we opened up 73 accounts there and we started with, okay, what accounts do we want to be in? We want to be in the top resorts, we want to be in the top pro shops and green grass accounts. We're going to be in Win here pretty soon here. So I think all those touch points from e-com to your app to your retail locations and also to key wholesale accounts to really build that seamless omni-channel strategy is what we're doing. So what I'm basically saying is perfect one channel, move on to the next. Don't try to do them all at the same time. I think sequencing is super important with this.
Awesome. Yeah, I agree with you on that, and I'm actually going to stick with you on that, Matt. We're going to get to, since we had a great conversation last week about some of this stuff. Sorry, not too well. You know, you say get every single channel right. Now, you started with e-commerce. How did your kind of e-commerce or your digital kind of footprint influence what you did in the actual physical store? Like, was there any sort of overlap from kind of your digital branding and like any sort of assets you put in the physical store? Did you learn anything basically transferring from the digital to the physical channel?
Well, I think once you have the physical stores and you can start talking to the customers from digital to in person, I'll give a good example actually of like what's different. So we did a collaboration with Tag Heuer recently, right? And so we released this watch. If we would have released the watch just online, it would have been like not the same experience, but having those retail locations to actually bring our customers to there, try the watch on, educate them on what it is. We couldn't have done that online without like making them watch a video, right? Mm-hmm. So I think having the physical location to talk to them about that is super key. So, I mean, we do that across now all of our drops, if we can, right? It's creating those moments and looking at retail is not just a way to build sales, it's an opportunity to activate all sorts of different marketing events. Mm-hmm. One more example I'll give is on like brand events and our strategy there is we just signed a PGA pro. His name's Jason Day. He's on tour right now. So the Genesis Open is a really big golf tournament that is at the Riviera in Los Angeles. And so what we did as part of that was we used one of our appearances with Jason. We had him come by the shop. And we also had a release that week. And so what this does is just like brings everybody together. We're fostering our community, bringing them all out. And you have professional golfers there. You have famous rappers there. You have people that just want to come out and play golf. They're all there because they love this game and they're on the same mission as us, which is like inspiring everybody to play this amazing sport and not make it inaccessible, make it accessible to everybody out there. And we're able to do that by I think, a much better job of doing it through our retail locations versus just doing it through our digital storefronts.
Yeah, I mean, Matt, does any of that resonate with you? I mean, I have to admit, I own some True Classic tees, and that was before you even opened any brick and mortar stores. Like, have you seen any sort of overlap when you guys started going to the physical locations and kind of how your digital strategy kind of informed where you would open them, what sort of branding you had, what sort of experiences there were?
Yeah, I think with us, we take a very data-driven approach. We don't forget. I think I totally agree that don't kind of lose sight of the forest from the trees. You have to remember that your customers who you're serving, and always talk to them. And we get great feedback from our retail store associates, our retail store managers, and we have a fast feedback loop where we feed that up on Slack, and we can read stuff really fast. So a couple things on the how you quantify. Retail stores are so much more than just the sales that happen within the four walls. It also creates a halo effect in a mile radius around the store on your e-com sales, and we can quantify that. We know what it is. It creates all the customers that are omnichannel shoppers that shop both in store and online are 2.5 times more valuable. We have data to prove that. The NPS scores are about 20 points higher in the store. And it's also a customer acquisition tool. There's new customers that are finding you in the retail channel that would not buy from you online. You can quantify that too. So there's a lot of these added benefits that retail brings, and if you quantify the business case behind it, it makes a ton of sense. And then if you can get profitable within the four walls, plus you have all those added benefits, it's massively a needle mover. The other thing I'll say is the play, and I'm kind of piggybacking on what you guys were saying over there, the play between physical retail and online, there's so many cool things you can do. One of the things that we just did in our new store format is we have all digital displays. We have a digital display on the window, it's massive. We have a digital display in the back of the store, it's a 100-inch TV. We have individual digital displays that are on our shirts, that are with our activewear, that are with our winter clothes. And we are an online brand first and foremost, we're direct to consumer. We know what content is winning online, we're testing it day in, day out with like hundreds of thousands of dollars, right? So what we do is we figure out what the best performing assets are online, and we can feed them into the stores on the digital display instantaneously. And if we want to change something on Tuesday, because we had different assets running Monday and we realized, oh my gosh, there's a huge winner online on a Tuesday, we feed it into our stores instantaneously, which helps conversion, which helps customers, which helps customers find the right product. We can change pricing dynamically because we have digital displays. So it's that kind of like simplicity, but a really good idea. It's not overdoing it and making it so there's so many bells and whistles in the store that tech kind of can be its own worst enemy and break, and then like you have a bad experience. It's do the simple stuff. Take the content that works online, feed it into the stores. That works, and you can measure that. So I think we're doing things like that, where it's like, hey, don't go 4 adjacencies in and try to do too much. Go one adjacency. Do something that's like commonsensical that makes sense, and then measure it. And if it works, you kind of rinse and repeat. So we're doing a lot of stuff like that. There's one other thing I'll add, and it's kind of the point that I made before, but if you're an online brand, your best source of direct customer information is actually your customer service team, when customers are calling in and telling you and giving you all the feedback. So of course, as a digitally native brand, we take that data and we flow it back to our teams. The second best, when you have physical stores, is your associates and your store managers. It is such a incredible source of information. It's so rich. Customers are coming in, they're spending 10 minutes, 20 minutes, maybe even longer in the store. They're touching and feeling the product. They're giving you feedback. We have daily reports that circulate back up, and we've figured out ways to kind of organize them so they go to the right teams with such rich information that you can then flow back into your online business. That then flows back into your retail business, and it's this amazing 360 feedback circle that just helps grow your business and make it better. So there's a tremendous amount of benefits to having physical locations.
Got it. You know, one of the things that you mentioned just now that was a pretty big theme is measuring success. You know, having the data there to say what's working, what's not, things like that. And I know everybody on this panel and everybody in this room has probably been in this space for quite some time. I mean, I've been doing this for about 22 years, and you know, that was just batch and blast back in the day. And I've seen the technology evolve over time to where you can actually measure these sort of touch points, you know, in different channels. You can actually quantify what a call center employee is actually doing for your brand. How have you seen the technology kind of change over, say, the past 5 years, and where do you think it's going? Like, what gaps are there still that we need to, as an industry, basically bridge the gap on to help keep moving forward?
Yeah, it's not readily available. Let's just say that. That's why a lot of people aren't doing it. So one thing that is, I think, the most important is you have to understand what the value is of a customer that shops online only versus shops in retail only versus somebody who does both. In order to do that, you have to have a pretty robust data infrastructure in place. You have to be able to cohort all of your data. And how we do that is we did a project, we store it all in BigQuery, and then we're able to pull what we need on an as-needed basis, and we tag all of the individual customers that are coming in, we tag what they're purchasing. So you basically get this robust back-end data infrastructure where you can pull it based on, hey, who purchased almost anything, right? Who purchased what product at what time, who purchased in retail first, who purchased online first. So once you have that set up, it's pretty easy to pull. But if you don't have that set up, it's pretty hard to initially set up. So from some respects, it gives you a bit of a competitive advantage. But any company that gets above a certain size will probably have enough of a BI infrastructure in place. And then you need to do a lot of like in-store measurement. So we use a lot of different data sources for the actual in-store customer experience. And where we have like cameras in store, we're obviously measuring traffic. We're measuring where customers are kind of moving and what they're kind of checking out. And then in addition to the qualitative feedback from your store associates, you're able to paint as clear a picture as you can.
Got it. And Bill, have you seen any sort of trends that kind of, I'd say, not necessarily wow you, but you think have like really enabled you to get that omnichannel kind of touch points that you were mentioning earlier down a little more packs, or is there still any big gaps, most importantly, that you see?
There's probably two. Well, there's definitely been a lot of progression and transformation in the digital space to allow omnichannel brands to be in brick and mortar. In terms of the two gaps, one that I'm, particularly as it pertains to e-com customers and a store customer, there is a solution for everything now. There's traffic counters, email, SMS, loyalty programs, all of these things. So how do you unify that and unify that customer profile without maybe building, a big data infrastructure, having data analysts do it for you, right? And I think that's the one area that I could see there's a couple solution providers that are trying to do that, but it is disjointed and everyone's kind of racing to owning all of it, but that, leads you to maybe commoditizing it a bit, if that makes sense. On the wholesale front, again, half our business is wholesale, right? And so how do we get the customer data from that, which, last year alone, we had nearly 300,000 new customers, over half of that was from Target, Urban Outfitters, and I don't know who they are, right? And so building packaging, building QR codes, building potentially RFID, NFC tags baked into the packaging that allows the customer to pull up your website. It's a little sneaky, right? Because if you buy a Target, last thing a Target person wants to do is have you come back to our website. But you do that in a way that enhances the customer experience versus trying to retarget them and sell them. So definitely some transformation, some awesome things that are happening. But for us, there's definitely still a big gap that we're actively trying to close.
Yeah, no, would you say it's basically using the technology in the right way, because there is a lot of commoditization out there. I was talking with a Gartner analyst a couple months back, and we were talking about customer data platforms. And he made the quip that anybody that has a Dropbox account is now calling themselves a CDP, which is kind of accurate at this point. But there is a technology out there, but how you actually utilize that to not only get your analytics, but also kind of drive loyalty and repeat purchases and things like that. And I'd be interested to hear, Bryant, in terms of as you've kind of launched the brand, how have you been going about loyalty in terms of getting people to come back, buy more golf gear, whether it's new releases, maybe tied to the sign of the day or something like that. How have you seen kind of loyalty to your brand specifically play a role in your kind of touch points?
So customer loyalty is somewhere we're investing a lot. We created what we call our members only community. It's called Buckets Club. And it piggybacks on our character, our Buckets icon. And it started off with us inviting members into it, also them being able to buy a membership that's $300 a year. And through this, we wanted to combine experiences through this loyalty program that are both offline in the form of events and also with commerce experience as well. I'll talk about the commerce experience. So we do a lot of like limited drops. And so by being a member, sometimes you get access to maybe 100 pairs of Nike shoes that we haven't released yet. So by being a member and being able to get gated access, it's kind of like skipping the line of like, I'll use like Supreme as an example, as like a nostalgic streetwear brand that has a line around the corner. Like if you could be a member and pay that and skip the line, there's value there, right? On top of that, we host actual events every single month for the Buckets Club members. So I think community is so important when you're talking about loyalty. So we built out a whole team, and every single month we'll host an actual tournament that's only for Buckets Club members. We'll invite some people outside of our members. But I think that's a good way to actually engage with your customers. So beyond just like saying, hey, you know what, we're going to give you points, we can do that as well, and that's cool. But actually having these experiences where you can have your customers come out and get access to things that they normally wouldn't do is somewhere we're investing in. And we're just going to continue to evolve that over time, right? We're not so focused on like doing every little thing at once. It's kind of like, again, the right sequence of stuff. It's like, how do we host the best tournaments? You know, how do we give back to our customers and give them exclusive product? The other thing we did is we created their own pro shop, we'll call it. So you have malbongolf.com, you have bucketsclub.com. On bucketsclub.com, you can buy exclusive merch that we produce just for that website. That's also where you go and register for your tournaments. And then we also have a very active Discord community. So we'll go in there and you'll get access to that. I think this is kind of cool to talk about because it sounds kind of silly talking about Discord, but when you go in there and actually engage with your customer, the stuff that they're talking about is so, so valuable. They're literally in the morning talking to each other when they wake up, very excited, booking tea times with each other. You're talking about drops coming up. They're giving you like feedback on it. They want to know when they can buy it, like all this kind of stuff. So my advice here is to invest in customer loyalty and think beyond like a traditional point system. Think about how you can actually provide real world experiences for your customers, engage with them.
Yeah, and one of the things you mentioned too, like holding these events, is you're actually going to have much more of a personal connection to the specific brand. You know, it's not just an e-commerce experience. You actually are more invested in kind of things that are about that. And you know, and I can imagine, Lauren, that like there's in your brands, there's also this sort of level of loyalty in terms of the health and wellness and things like that. What do you see from your loyalty strategy that's been paying off?
Absolutely. So for CPG, traditionally, for our products, most consumers are not going to go out of their way to go to D2C to buy a subscription to a protein powder. So we really think about what the values that we're displaying to a consumer and how that's fully end-to-end engaging. So for us, because we are plant first and plant forward, we are listening to our consumers. They're caring about how we are giving back to the environment. So we partnered with a blockchain technology called Veritree, where for every purchase, we actually plant a tree. So the number one SKU I have on my site is kelp reforestation, which is great. But so it helps us to learn and engage with our consumers and really put our money where our mouth is in that long-term strategy. And we've connected that in an omnichannel experience through an offering through Stackline called Brand Club, which is a loyalty rewards app. So we reward a consumer for buying a product, leaving a review on Amazon, or buying a certain product in Walmart or Target. And we do get that one-to-one real consumer data. So it's helping us drive the consumer into the retail locations where we want them to be, as well as making sure they're engaged. Now, how do those two programs connect together? We're still figuring those pieces and components out, but a lot of what we're looking at is how do we make sure that we're bringing lifestyle to the consumer, especially for a business like Vega that has lifestyle nutrition for consumers that have protein gaps and deficiencies and have one need state versus someone that's a performance athlete that needs their protein to work out, whatever that may be. So it will vary in that brand, and I think that's also what's exciting. It doesn't have to be one size fits all.
Awesome. I appreciate that. And we're almost here at time, so we're going to end with you. What is one thing that you have seen either good or extremely bad that people here should be thinking about when you think about a loyalty thing? So it's either the best strategy you have or the by all means don't even think about doing this.
Well, you know, it's funny you ask that question actually, because as I'm hearing you talk about it, I'm loving it all because at the end of the day, it's right. Like there's so much product out there. It's ubiquitous everywhere you look. Right? It's everywhere. And if you're playing for the long run, you got to invest in the customer relationships, right? What utility are they getting by doing business with you that they wouldn't be getting somewhere else, right? And if you think through that lens, how do you add value? You got to give to get, right? And if you add value, you think about it in that lens, you really are investing in the brand, you're investing in the business, you're investing in those people's lives, your customers' lives, and I think that's critical. So irrespective of tool and tactic, just the idea of how do you get your existing customers to do more business with you because you're providing enhanced value that they're not getting somewhere else? Phenomenal, right? That's playing for the long run. I see a lot of brands in today's world, they're super transactional, right? Super, super transactional. And it's like, that's cool, you might get the numbers you need in this quarter or this year to hit your plan, that's fine. Play that game if you want, but you also got to be thinking about the long-term health of the business, right? Because let's be real, like the Shopify effect is real. There's millions of merchants out there. They all have the ability to, not all, but some have the ability to buy ads and buy mind share. And you're fighting every day to stay top of mind. And so, what we're talking about is Omnichannel, right? Like, how do you meet the customer everywhere? So anyways, it's how do you continue to double down, triple down on your existing customers? That is the winning strategy. Just being super transactional, failing strategy. Investing. So,
awesome.
Yeah.
Well, that is our 30 minutes. This was definitely a large panel, but I think you got to hear from everybody. I'd like to thank the panelists for being up here. Thank you guys, everybody, for taking your time. I believe we have a 30-minute networking break right now, but hope you guys enjoy the rest of your time here today. Thank you.
Thank you so much, everybody. Really appreciate it.